What's up, everybody? We've got some updates on some upcoming Marvel-related movies, a couple of MCU movies, one Sony movie that I didn't even know was coming out, but I imagine they expect to make some money. The bigger one being about Blade in the future, or maybe lack thereof, a future for the Blade movie, starring Mahershala Ali that we've heard about for 5 years now. Seems to be stuck in production hell, and it just got worse this week. And also an update on Doctor Strange 3, a movie that until a couple of weeks ago, you're like, oh, I'm surprised they haven't greenlit this and already got it into production. But now with some new information, you can see why maybe it's a little bit more up in the air regarding whether or not we will see a Doctor Strange movie. First up, we do have these persistent stories of the nightmare production that is Blade in the MCU. The latest about Blade is now writer Michael Green has exited the flick. With it said, another writer is being brought on board to finish the script, which is at least the 7th writer. The info comes from scooper Daniel RPK, who says Blade is undergoing another round of significant revisions. Following Michael Green's departure, the scooper says Marvel is now in search of a new writer, but at least says the storyline is finalized and that filming is scheduled to now commence in Mexico or Brazil in fall of 2024. It was previously said to start filming in the summer of 2024. So once again, we have more delays and another writer on Blade. How can you not get the Blade character right? We literally had 2 badass, amazing Blade movies, obviously starring Wesley Snipes, and I understand that was done by New Line Cinema. Not exactly Marvel Studios and Disney friendly, but hell, they're going R-rated anyway. We got Deadpool and Wolverine. We got pegging jokes. We've got all the F-bombs you could ever want. Who cares if it's a little bit gory and he's ripping through vampires and stuff like that? We get a little bloodbath action, but I don't understand how they can get this Blade production so wrong. Apparently in the beginning, Blade wasn't even going to be a main character really in the movie. It was going to sit around his daughter and I guess passing the torch down to Bloodline, a character that hasn't even featured in comic books very often, more heavily featured now in Bloodhunt than I've ever seen the character actually featured. But apparently they were just going to go with her to be the big star of the movie. Everyone finally said, you know what? Every time we attempt to do this in the MCU, it blows up in our face and we end up losing massive amounts of money. Common sense prevailed. And they said, well, we do have an award-winning, Oscar-winning actor, Mahershala Ali, signed on to play the role of Blade. Maybe we should actually deliver a Blade movie where he kicks ass, takes names, and slays a bunch of vampires. And it sounds like Ali himself has had to take control of the production because there's been so many starts and stops and stupid directions for this thing. But I guess at least they have a story that they want to tell nailed down that maybe the director and Ali and Kevin Feige have actually signed off on. They just didn't like the direction apparently that Michael Green was taking it, the 7th writer that they had on this Blade movie. And he's done some cool stuff. He did Logan, which wasn't exactly not successful. That was a really good movie and it made a lot of money. So it sounded like they probably had the right voice at that point. But it is getting pretty crazy when you think about all the weird changes here. And Mahershala Ali was not a young man when he signed up for the Blade movie. He was basically my age. I'm 46. He was 45 at the time. Now he's like 50 and he's still waiting to make this movie. And you got to think at some point, he just has to move on with his life. You can't just sit there waiting for a dream project, even if it is a dream project, to actually come to fruition, because it does seem like Kevin Feige and the brain trust around Marvel Studios just cannot get their heads out of their asses. And for some reason, even though they have the story that they want to tell straightened out, they still don't have the right voice for it or whatever. I think we're on the 2nd or 3rd director as well. So what a nightmare this thing has been. And that's really been the case for a lot of MCU movies of late. They used to never have any issues with production. If Kevin Feige said they were making a movie, they would identify the talent, they would cast it up, get the right writer in place, get the right directors, and basically that movie would happen. And that has not been the case. They had the first problems, I guess, with Ant-Man. I think it was supposed to be Paul Feig, whatever that guy's name, and ended up being Peyton Reed. That turned out fine. That was actually a pretty fun movie. The sequel, not nearly as good. The 3rd one, absolutely terrible. But then we started seeing problems with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. The original guy that directed the first movie was supposed to do the sequel, and apparently they had creative differences, and they had to bring in Sam Raimi at the last minute. Who wouldn't want to see Sam Raimi on an MCU movie? But it was all last minute, and there wasn't enough Raimi in it. It turns out We'll kind of get to that here in a few minutes, that Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness might not have been the enormous success that it was supposed to be, but we're seeing this stuff a lot more now. Is it because they have too many projects going on there? Is it because they have the wrong ideas? Maybe Kevin Feige has gotten a little bit of gun shy. He didn't exactly have a losing record there for the first 3 phases. They didn't really ever lose money. And now it seems like they break even or lose money on every project, outside of Spider-Man No Way Home and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And you can blame that stuff on the pandemic and all that stuff. But this isn't a pandemic problem. This is an artistic idea problem where they didn't even know what to do with Blade, even though it was completely spelled out for them like 15 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago at this point. Like, I don't understand how they are stuck in a rut on this project. Another movie that I didn't even realize was coming out is Venom 3. I didn't even realize this movie was a real thing, but there have been very little details about this. And now somebody has actually gone out there and revealed a lot of the plot elements of that. Via 3C Films on YouTube, it's claimed that since Venom has a multiversal hive mind, the symbiote knows Spider-Man is destined to kill both Venom and Eddie Brock. Venom convinces Eddie to hunt down Peter Parker in the universe. However, that Peter Parker happens to only be 10 years old. They kidnap Peter and are supposed to kill him, but Eddie has second thoughts. Eddie must keep the young Spider-Man alive as he faces off against both a deadly new group of spawned aliens and a vigilante group that wants to eradicate him as he attempts to keep his own life from falling apart. And I guess the rumors are that it's supposed to be Venom, Along Came a Spider, which would kind of make sense given the synopsis of the movie that we've gotten here. But fuck me, is that not an original story? How many times have we seen, somebody time travel and have to protect a boy? I watched Terminator. It was fucking great, or at least Terminator 2 and all the iterations after that. And what was the dude, Ryan Johnson's movie with Bruce Willis? I can't remember the name of it now, but that's basically the plot of that movie too. And they're making a lot of mistakes on this one. First of all, I thought the first Venom movie was fine as like a weird alien symbiote movie. Don't know that it was quite a Venom movie. Had no interest in Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I didn't even see the damn thing. Even though my wife liked the first movie, we probably could have watched it together. It just didn't look all that good to me. And all this Sony stuff at this point just kind of looks bad. But they're making the same mistakes they did in comic books. Like, there's too many symbiotes now. At this point, we've had Venom and Carnage in the movies, and now we're going to get Toxin, the offspring of Carnage themselves. And apparently Toxin is going to go full fucking Mowgli, pour some water on himself and start spouting off like new fucking stupid symbiotes. And there's going to be an army of like Venom symbiotes fighting out there that Tom Hardy's Venom is going to have to protect Peter Parker Spider-Man from as a child. And then there's also going to be like a Venom hunting vigilante group called the Jury. I don't know, it's somewhat of an interesting idea, but I don't know. Sony's just weird. They don't have anything good. Venom is like the one character besides maybe like Black Cat. They have that character they could probably do something with, maybe even Silk a little bit, but we know that project got canceled. But they make all these stupid movies, and now they're going to make a bunch of symbiotes because they've already ran out of good ideas. It's going to be like the Gremlins 2 of fucking Venom. We're like, well, we don't actually have any more story to tell. Let's just make an electric symbiote. Maybe there'll be a fire symbiote, and maybe we can have a female symbiote that's trying to like mac people, and we can have a brain symbiote that wants to be like the president and stuff like that. You get fucking Mowgli back, you can make a bow and arrow out of a paperclip, and it could be exciting fun. It's like Aaron Sparrow's gonna fucking love that movie. Me personally, I'm a little bit more suspect on Venom 3. Perhaps Venom Along Came a Spider. I don't think that's even confirmed at this point. But this movie is actually coming out this year. It's coming out, within a few months or whatever. I didn't even realize it. I don't know that they've gotten the word out well enough about this one, but they certainly, at least in my mind, didn't really capitalize on the success and popularity of the first film. And now Venom's not quite as cool as he once was. They're already kind of wearing out the welcome of that idea or whatever. The last thing that we do have to talk about is an update on Doctor Strange 3. Doctor Strange actor Benedict Cumberbatch has confessed that when it comes to the Sorcerer Supreme's next appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he knows just as little about it as fans currently do. Cumberbatch is not the only Doctor Strange 3 cast member in the dark. Clea actress Charlize Theron was recently asked about the future MCU plans for the character and answered, I don't know. I haven't gotten a call. Is that bad? The actress then laughed. Is that bad? Is that bad? No, I'm not lying. I'm not lying. I'm not lying. I haven't gotten a call. Is that bad? And just a few weeks ago, we probably would have thought Doctor Strange 3 would have been on the fast track to actually getting made and produced and all that stuff, because when you look at phases 4 and 5, there have only been a handful of successes, at least that we thought of. Obviously, Spider-Man No Way Home, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and then the other big one would have been Doctor Strange, The Multiverse of Madness, which I think box office-wise is the second biggest earner, well behind Spider-Man No Way Home. But now that we've gotten some more updates on what the actual budget of that was, it was like underreported almost by a scale of 50%, that it was actually $400 million, that it might not have actually made money. I don't know that it lost money, but it might not have made money. And then you're like, oh, maybe that's why they don't actually currently have plans for a Doctor Strange 3 kind of movie. Benedict Cumberbatch seems to have no idea what's going on whatsoever. Their own introduced at the end of Doctor Strange, The Multiverse of Madness, as Clea Strange, as a estranged wife or whatever. Big time actress. I imagine that was supposed to be a big focal point moving forward. Has no idea what's going on. Maybe we don't see Doctor Strange again until we get to Secret Wars. Like, it would be weird to have an Avengers movie without him, because they've only got so many like bankable stars and bankable heroes at this point that are still even alive in there. Now, I imagine they're hoping that Deadpool and Wolverine are among those after Deadpool and Wolverine comes out this summer. But, you know, you still got Hulk, but it's like stupid doofus Hulk with fucking Mark Ruffalo. No, thank you very much. You know, Chris Hemsworth's Thor is still awesome. And I still like Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, even though Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania was absolutely terrible. But they don't have much to work with. What are you going to do? Put Shang-Chi in that bad boy? Even though it sounds like we might be getting a Shang-Chi sequel. Like, they're still going with that idea. So they've quickly run out of Avengers level characters. You know, we don't have Black Widow anymore. We don't have Iron Man anymore. We don't have a real Captain America anymore. And there is a distinct lack of star power, not only with the actors, but with the characters themselves. So I guess, you know, you would imagine we're going to see him at least in the Avengers movie. I think we're still getting Avengers 5 before we get into Avengers Secret War, which is going to be the big reboot to reestablish and reintroduce new versions of the heroes that we've lost so far, so they can get back to telling real stories again. But I don't think we're actually going to get Doctor Strange 3. But now that we have the reports on the budget, and the fact that they probably didn't even make money on that movie, it kind of makes sense that maybe they would want to do something that has a lot less CGI, a lot less budget involved in it. You know, that heft of that budget really puts some constraints on you on how much money you can even make at this point. Because I don't know, you know, at this point that the MCU is a $1 billion franchise. If they make Avengers 5 and put it out next year, would it make $1 billion? I don't think so. Although it does appear there's a decent shot that Deadpool and Wolverine will come close to that, or if not exceed it. So perhaps they do have a couple of hits left in them, but there's just not a lot of buzz out there. But if you've been looking out for Doctor Strange 3, I think you're going to be disappointed. I think you might be disappointed on Blade 2. They say they're still doing it, and there's a release date, but I don't think they're ever going to make that fucking Blade movie. You can't have that many problems throughout the cycle before you even get to filming and really make it to fruition. That at some point everyone's going to go, you know, this just isn't going to work out. But we are definitely, most definitely getting Venom 3. Will it be called Along Comes the Spider? I'm not really sure. But it's the most generic plot line with the stupidest ideas that Marvel Comics have used over the years that haven't worked for the character. So I don't know. Not exactly exciting stuff there. I do hope they make a Blade movie, and it's awesome because I think Blade's a great character. And Doctor Strange is a great character too. So I wouldn't mind seeing Benedict Cumberbatch and Charlize Theron do something with that and make it cool. But it doesn't sound like that's going to happen. If you would like more conversations about comic books, comic book characters, and comic book movies and all that kind of stuff, we've got plenty here on Thinking Critical YouTube. And if you like what we're doing here, you support us over on Thinking Critical Patreon. We have lots more podcasts available to you with way more information, way more conversations about this stuff from some of the best guests on the channel: Aaron Sparrow, Doc, Jim, lots of other people, obviously myself as well. There's a link in the video description if you'd like to support the channel there.